Well, it was nice for a matter of like a couple days, and now it's back to being hot again, but that's how it goes. Okay, somewhere in here, I've got a straw blanket somewhere. There it is. About exactly where I expected it would be, underneath everything. I remembered I had this seating blanket left. This is one type that I haven't tried before, but I think someone just gave this to me, so I'm gonna give this a shot. I know I don't have enough for all the area that I wanted to put it on, but I can go get something else. In the meantime, I'm gonna put it on at least this section right here and then see what else I have left. Put a few stakes in here. First verdict is definitely not a fan of this as much as those other straw blankets. This one, just the material is kind of weird and it's harder to deal with. It seems more messy. This spot down here is where a lot of the water comes down the hill, and so I have this sort of temporary little blockage here of weeds and also an old blanket right in there, just that's been able to help stop a lot of that soil from going down here. But I planted some ryegrass in here just at the end of this plot that I want to try to get going, so at least when water comes down through here, the soil will be held in place. So these weren't necessarily maybe the easiest thing to deal with in terms of putting them down and cutting them and all that compared to the straw blankets, but I do think when you water this, it actually feels like it hugs the contours of the ground. For right now, I have this covered at least. Then I have the shade seed in full sun, so it's a shade mix basically put out into full sun over here that I don't have covered yet, but I'll work on that, and maybe in the meantime, if it doesn't rain, I can actually get something growing before I have to worry about it too much. This is really my life for the next few weeks, is keeping up with all this watering. Of course, you know, it'd be nice if I had irrigation on all this stuff, but I'm just planning out all these plots, and eventually I will get some irrigation in. But when you're out in an open field like this, and today it doesn't happen to be windy, but usually there's some sort of wind going on, and it can be pretty difficult with sprinklers then to just get even coverage on everything. It doesn't take me all that long to just hand water some stuff, and I know I'm getting the water exactly where I want it to go. Well, you might notice some of these spots behind me. I tried to spray out some of the worst stuff that was in this front plot. Now, since it got just slightly cooler, what I absolutely love about ryegrass is, even during the summer, this was planted in the spring. It was looking pretty good during the summer, but you can always tell ryegrass as it starts to extend into the really high soil temperatures here. It just kind of sits there and it looks okay, but it doesn't look absolutely prime. But as soon as we go back to a slight bit of rain and those cooler night temperatures, we've been around the mid 60s, low 60s, sometimes even upper 50s, boom, just comes back to life, and it looks so amazingly nice and green and striped so well. So this section I'm going to show you really soon in a separate video. I'll be talking about how to fix some damaged spots like this, how to overseed a whole area, and we'll be talking about that very soon. But I just wanted to show you this today. I'm mowing this at 1.5 inches, and I really like that height for this. It's been a really nice look to it overall, and it's been surviving that, doing well all through the summer heat. So this will be nice to get these spots fixed very soon. Also, I did an initial review on this mower, but hopefully by the end of the season, I'll give you some more thoughts on this thing. I've been using it extensively and exclusively pretty much out here at Westbury for the season, and I really love it. I started up the Honda mower again. I said to myself, why is this thing so loud? I've been using and getting used to this battery powered mower, and that's one of the major things that I love about it. But I've been really impressed with the overall cut. Like I said, I'll get into more of that later this season. I actually believe that I'm going to be doing another mower change coming up, so stay tuned for that. So it's still pretty much dry as a bone out here, but all this stuff, all this fescue that I've been leaving here just to test and see what it does, it's certainly not happy about it, but it's still alive. And actually fairly green considering all the conditions. So So I'm back down at the camp section. There's so many different plants that bloom at different times during the year throughout the property. So those yellow and purple flowers are just a couple that have just come out in the last few weeks. They weren't there at any other point in the year. That's kind of what we've really enjoyed about the property so far, is just the phases of everything. And that's going to become familiar with the seasons throughout the year, so it's pretty cool. Actually not bad for mostly full sun for most of the day down here. And that was my test out here just to see how well it would do during the midsummer. And up here towards the front where, you know, it got most of the heat, looks like probably some of that may not come back because there was some ryegrass in here, and it doesn't always survive in long-term no rain situations, but it'll be interesting to see as fall arrives what this looks like. Now down here in the shade, it's a different story. Looks really good down here. So I just got this 250-gallon tank filled up just because we're supposed to have a well test done soon in order to figure out how much water we actually have, gallons per minute, all that stuff. And so as a backup, nice probably 275 gallons or so. It's not a bad option to have. Well, I was just about to hook up this trailer so that I could get my mower down to the shade area, and that's probably not so good. Well, made it down to the camp area with, you know, just do what you gotta do. Who really needs it, right? So this needs to get mowed, and then even though I said I wasn't gonna plant anything down here because I have too much other stuff going on, well, we know how that works. I already had it sprayed, so I decided yesterday to power rake this. Over in here is where I wanted to do those shade test plots of ryegrass, bluegrass, and I'm going to plant the rest of this whole thing. Plant all the rest of this in fescue. So this area right here is going to get more wood chips, thicker, so that I can smother all the stuff that's in here. And I think this will be a nice little area. This spot right in here, I think just this little area here, I told Kelsey maybe a shade garden would be cool there, some hostas and different plants that we won't need to really do a whole lot of maintenance to, but I think that area would look nice. And then you'll have turf out here and turf going down there. Forgot my mulching plug for the mower, so that would have worked a little better with these leaves down here, but it's okay. I'm just going to chop these up next few mows. It's not growing all that much down here, but if we start to get some rain and cooler weather, I think it should really start to pop back to life again. And there's going to be a lot more leaves to come down, so this is just the beginning. But I usually just chop them up and mulch them up as much as possible. So looking at this now, I think this spot right here is actually more shady than this spot right there. It's obviously going to depend on the time of day, but I think that this one's going to get these trees and then all the afternoons. Probably put the test plots for shade right in there. So this little spot over here, I'm just going to use some tall fescue seed. It's pretty much out in full sun. Since this area is going to be nothing more than whatever we get for rain, I'm just going to put some fescue seed in there quick. And by the way, hopefully this will show it on camera, but this line right here is from the tire of that spreader. I know many of you have asked me if I'd have issues with this. It seemed like my old one that I had was not as bad, but this one definitely is. So what I'm thinking is if we could just somehow fill the plastic space in there so it's flat, so everything would just fall right onto the ground and not get caught in that lip. I don't see a reason why that wouldn't work, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to do that yet. I'm going to be planting Kentucky bluegrass, my elite Kentucky bluegrass, and my elite ryegrass. So I'll probably just split these right down the middle. Just a couple of passes of the drop spreader on each side of here and use these trees as the line, and then all this other shade area will be getting the tall fescue, so we'll be able to tell that pretty easily. That usually does very well in shade anyway, but the bluegrass and the ryegrass will be the one that I want to test. So I'm going to get the debris off of this area quick, and then I'll get the seed put down. So I've talked about this before too, but if you want to clean up debris just right off of the surface of something, especially if you have topsoil you're working, these plastic rakes like this work the best. They really clean things up nicely and leave you with exactly what you want to keep there. Pretty cool comparison here actually in the size of these different seeds. So here's the line. You can definitely see the ryegrass there, much larger. Bluegrass, not easy to plant because it is very, very small. Okay, I got my stakes marked out so I know exactly where these are when things start growing in. I'm using that tree line as the middle point. So remember, you're just basically dragging this across the surface. I like these wire tined rakes to do this. Now you could also definitely roll this in from here if you wanted to. It wouldn't be a bad idea if you had a roller available. I might grab mine and come down here. Otherwise, I'm definitely going to be covering these with something, probably that Slope Master product that I'm using. I'm pretty happy with it so far. Either that or some kind of a blanket probably. So both of these could also get some starter fertilizer, which I think I'll put on. I have some down here ready to go. And the rest of this whole area just needs to get seeded. I probably won't show you all that. It's just going to be me walking around with the spreader, and that's going to be it. Let the rain come, hopefully no major storms, and that's just kind of how it goes when you have an area like this that's more natural and you don't have as much control over the water or anything. But it's exactly the same way I seeded the shade area that I was mowing today. So definitely can be done, and you just gotta hope that everything doesn't get washed out. I want to thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next time.